Okay guys, so this exercise 23.3 question 3. Shown below is a graph of the function x squared minus 3x minus 4 in the domain minus 2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 5. So this is the same thing as what we did last time, where you lads, you put into your calculator, then you draw all the points linking together and you get your U-shaped curve, okay? Use the graph to write down the values of x for which f of x equals 0. What does f of x mean again? Another letter for f of x? 1. When is y equal to 0? What's y equal to at the moment? 6 here, round 2 and a half, and here? 0. Y is 0. And now what's the x value? What? Minus 1. X equals minus 1. What else? 4. And 4. X equals 4. So that's our two values for which fx equals 0. Any questions? Okay. Find the values for which f of x is equal to 6. Where does y equal 6? Can anybody tell me where y equals 6? Minus 2 and the other one? 5. Is everybody happy with that? Now, I'm going to show you a little trick here. Okay, I'm going to show you a little trick. And I'm going to show it to you earlier. Okay? Alright. This is the graph y equals x squared minus 3x minus 4. Is everybody agreed with that? Yeah? And when y equals 0, what does that mean? It's crossing the x axis. Would you agree with that? Yeah? Likewise, when we're talking about y equals x, we're talking about x equals minus 2 and x equals 5. Now, when y equals 0, if we were to solve this using the reference number, what happens? What is the reference number for this equation?
4 or minus 4.
And what's the two numbers? Minus 4 and plus 1. X minus 4, x plus 1 equals 0. And what do we get next? X equals, and x equals. Are they the same two answers we got here? In the first part. So you can see that you can actually solve a quadratic equation by doing the reference number or by drawing out the equation and seeing where it cuts the x axis. That's solving this part here. So this equation I did on the board is solving y equals 0. Are you happy with that? Now, what happens if I gave you this equation to solve? I'll show you what I mean now. Can anybody tell me what is this equation? I'll show you now. Now, okay, compare this equation to the one we just drew. What can you tell me? What's the similarities between both equations? You have the x squared and the minus 3x. The only difference is the minus 10 at the end, isn't it? Now look at question 2. And what does question 2 say? F of x equals 6. Now look at f of x equals 6. F of x is, that's f of x, isn't it? That's what f of x is equal to. Yeah? And then f of x equals 6. What happens when you bring the 6 over the other side? Which turns into? So it's actually the same equation, isn't it? And what do we know about the answers for this equation? 5 and minus 2. Okay? So what's happening here is basically we get the reference number of minus 10 and it goes in minus 5 and plus 2. X minus 5, x plus 2 equals 0. X equals minus 2, x equals 5. Are they the same answer? So you can solve it by graph or you can solve it algebraically. One or the other. Okay? Now let's put this to the test in part 3. What does part 3 mean? Find the values of x for which y equals minus 4. What does that mean? We're using the graph. So we're using the graph. Where should I draw my line? At y equals minus 4. Where's y equals minus 4? It's here, isn't it? And what's my two answers? 0 and 3. Is everybody happy with that? 0 and 3. Now, if I want to do this algebraically, how would I do it? How would I solve this one? What would I write down? F of x equals minus 4. Then what would I write down? What's f of x? Okay. And then what could I do? They cancel, right? And then what's left? X squared minus 3x. Now what can you take out in common? And what are you left with? And what's the answer then? X equals 0, or x minus 3 equals 0, x equals 3, x equals 0. Is that the same answer I got a second ago on the graph? Yeah. Now, you don't have to do it algebraically, but I'm just showing you that you can, because you might be asked to do it later on. Now, back to the question. Find the value of f of 2. What does f of 2 mean? The input is, and which letter is the input, x or y? X. Input of 2. Here it is here. Here's x equals 2 here. Now, where does x equals 2 hit the red curve? There we go, minus 6. So the value of f of 2 is minus 6. What about f of a half? Where's the half located? Hot or cold? Here. Go down, and where does it hit? 5.2-ish, is it? Minus 5.2. How would you find out the exact value? Put in x equals a half into the equation, and you get 0.5 squared minus 3 times 0.5 minus 4. And what do you get here? It says to use the graph, but you could always check your answer. Minus 5.25. Okay? So we're very close, but the approximate answer is minus 5.25. You'd never be able to do that by eyesight, so you're just going to get close. Okay? Next thing, the coordinates of the minimum point. What does a minimum point mean? Where is it at its lowest? And where is it at its lowest? It's going to be the point 1.5 on the x-axis, isn't it? And how far on the y-axis? Minus 6.2-ish again. How would you find out that value exactly? How would you find out that value exactly, the y value? Your input is 1.5. Find your output. And if you put 1.5 into the calculator, Brian's on it. What you get, Brian?
Minus 6.25.
Minus 6.25. So we're very close again. Now guys, the coordinates of the minimum point of the curve. The coordinates means the x value and the y value. So the answer to part 6 is 1.5 and 6.25. Now what does the minimum value of f of x mean? Its smallest value. What is its smallest value of the y value? Minus 6.25 is the answer to part 7. So that's all that done. You can actually see that you can actually figure out a lot of it by calculator anyway, if you are stuck and aren't sure. Okay? Next question, number 5. This is drawn. Find the roots of the equation f of x equals 0. What does f of x equals 0 mean? What's a different word for f of x? Another word? outputs. Y equals 0, output equals 0. What do we do then? If we're not finding the output, we're finding the inputs. Where is it equal to 0? What two numbers? Minus 1 and 3. Oh, sorry, I'll do it down here. Okay, what about the next one? F of x equals 3. Anybody? F of x equals 3.
0.
0 and
2.
So x equals 0, x equals 2. Okay, find the value of f of 2.5. Where is f of 2.5 located? And so this means the input is 2.5, find the output. Now, so you got to draw this really straight. What are we looking at around? 1.5, 1.6? Anybody know a quick way of finding out which one it is?
1.75.
Oh, it's 1.75. Where'd you figure that out, Brian?
On the calculator.
Because you put the input as?
2.5.
See what the calculator does, lads? It enables you to rig your answer a little, so you can get much more accurate. Okay? So 1.75. Brilliant, Brian. What about number 4? The maximum value of y, or f of x. What's the maximum value? Where is that? Where is y at its biggest? 4. Y equals 4, or f of x equals 4. Find the coordinates of the maximum point. Where's the maximum point? 1, 4. Okay. It's part 6. Find the range of values of which f of x is increasing. Now, do you know what increasing means? I'll show you now what increasing means. When you have a hill, okay, or a set of values, your y values are getting big on the way up. They're increasing on the way up. When you reach your maximum point, they're no longer increasing or decreasing. When you're on your way down from the hill, you're decreasing. Do you got it? It's like climbing the hill. It's like altitude. When your altitude, it's like you're mountain climbing. When your altitude is increasing, the curve is increasing, the value of f of x is increasing, but when you're on your way down, it's decreasing. What about a minimum point, lads? What about a minimum point? What happens here on a minimum point? Like you're going into a valley. On your way down, are you increasing or decreasing?
Decreasing.
You're decreasing because your y value is getting smaller, and on your way up, increasing. Think of it like hiking, and the higher up you are, is increasing. If you're going down, you're decreasing. Back to the question at hand. Okay. Part 6. Find the range of values for which f of x is increasing. So where is it increasing, lads? It's increasing here, isn't it? And when does it stop increasing? At x equals 1. So, any number smaller than x equals 1, it's increasing. How do you write that in maths terms? Is it x less than or equal, or x less than 1? If it's less than or equal, it's including x equals 1. And because x equals 1 is the top of the mountain, so to speak, you're not increasing or decreasing on top of the mountain. You're stationary, which means that it doesn't count. So the answer is x less than 1. Find the range of values of x for which f of x is positive. What does f of x positive mean? What does that mean? Where the y value is positive. Now let's look at this. The y value is positive. Tell me now, is my y value negative or positive? Negative, 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 negative. Here? Neutral, thank you. It's not included, right? Positive, 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 positive. It's at 3, it's positive. Now it's at 2. It's positive, and now it's neutral again. So if you were to write this answer in English, what you would tell me is this. You would say in between -1 and where? 3. How do you write that in maths terms? -1 is smaller than x. X is smaller than 3. Or another way of doing it is the numbers we are talking about are bigger than -1, but they're smaller than 3. That's the language, okay? Both of these answers are good. They actually mean the same thing. If I was to read it this way, what this means is -1 is a smaller number than than the values I'm talking about. However, the values I'm talking about are a smaller value than 3. I'm talking about all the numbers between 1 and 3. Okay? Now, find the equation of the axis of symmetry of the curve. What do we mean by axis of symmetry? Where does it get cut in half? Tell me where it gets cut in half, guys.
1 on the x-axis.
1 on the x-axis. Now, what's this form of this line called? Anybody know? X equals 1 is the name of the line, because all the points in this line, x equals 1. So the answer is x equals 1. And while we're here, I'm just going to draw 1 or 2 more lines just to get you used to this. What line have I drawn now? What line is that?
Y equals -4.
Y equals -4, thank you. What line is this one here? I know it's the y-axis, but give me another name, the equation of it. X equals 0. And what about this line here? What about this line here? Y equals 0, thank you. Right, you know your stuff now, okay? You know what one's what. Okay? Alright guys, next one. We're doing well. Okay? Here is a function of a line and a curve. Write down the coordinates of the points of where the line and curve meet. So where did the line and curve meet? Can anybody tell me? Oh dear, we're going to need a magnifying glass, aren't we? Okie dokie. Alright. I drew out this graph on GeoGebra, and what we can see is that on GeoGebra it's going to be 1, -1, 1 and 3, 9. Is that alright? -1, 1 and 3, 9. Okay, so this is -1, 1, and this one here is 3, 9. Okay. Solve the equation x squared equals 2x plus 3. Now, please pay really close attention to this, because here is the y-axis, the y value of the graph, the output of the graph, or the y value of the graph, and this is the y value of the line. Now, what they basically ask us to do is, they're giving us this equation here. They're asking us to solve y value of line equals y value of graph. Do you see where I got that from? F of x equals x squared. That's x squared. It's the y value of the graph. F of x equals 2x plus 3. This is the y value of the line. The y values are the same when they collide with each other. So we should get the same x values back. We should get x equals -1 and x equals 3. Let's see if that's the case. Solve it means do it using algebra. Reference number is -3. X minus 3. X plus 1 equals 0. X equals 3. X equals -1. Is that the same values? -1 and 3. Okay guys. What is the connection between the answer on 1 and 2 above? Question 2 asks you to solve an equation for when the y value of the graph equals the y value of the line. The y values of these two shapes are the same when they meet each other, as shown by the 2 blue points on the graph to the right. This means that equation 1 and equation 2 are the same thing, except equation 1 is solved graphically while part 2 is solved algebraically. That's the answer to part 3, okay? Explain the meaning of the equation f of x equals g of x. What f of x equals g of x means is, f of x is what, guys? It's the y value of the graph, and g of x is the y value of the line. It means solve the equation where the y value of the graph equals the y value of the line. And because your y values are given in terms of x, it means you're going to find out the x values for which the y value of the graph equals the y value of the line. You'll have to go through that again later. Okay? Next one. Number 11. Write down the roots of the equation. Where's the roots of the equation, lads? Come on, you should be able to do this quickly now. The roots of the graph. Sorry? X equals 0 and x equals 2. Everybody see where I got that from? Now, what about the next one? F of x equals 3. What does that mean? What does f of x equals 3 mean?
Y equals 3.
The output of the curve is 3. The y value of the curve is 3. And where does that bring us to? What two values?
Minus 1 and 3.
X equals minus 1, x equals 3. Next one. Find the roots of the equation where f of x equals g of x. Explain that in English again. We just did it a second ago.
The y value of the curve is y value of the line.
And where does that happen? It's not. It's hard to gauge, isn't it? Because it's not sitting exactly right, is it? So how do we figure this out? Just bring it down and try and take a decent guess at it. So what do you reckon for the first one to the right? 2.6? 2.7? 2.6 is okay, we'll go for that. And what about the next one? 0.4, okay.
How could you type it into a calculator?
You would solve this one here equals this one here. The y value of the y value of the curve equals the y value of the line. You'd bring it over to the other side, and what you'd get is x squared minus 3x plus 1 equals 0. This isn't a reference number, it's a minus b. So what happens next is you'll do the minus b formula. Everybody remember the minus b formula?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you know it's a minus b?
Because I can't get an answer using the reference number.
Because it's plus 1.
Yeah, it just does nothing that will work. A is 1, B is minus 3, C is 1. Put it into the formula, and what we get is, I'm just doing this just to show you what the real value would be if you ever stuck forgetting it. Okay, minus 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared. Will you be ready with the calculator, Brian?
Okay.
4 times 1 times 1, all divided by 2 times 1. What's that in the calculator? It's going to be 9 minus 4, which is it root 5?
What's that? It says not shared.
You didn't put the minus in the brackets, probably.
Yeah.
Anybody?
2.6185.
2.6?
2.6.
2.61, perfect. And what about when it's minus root 5 over 2? 3 minus root 5 over 2.
0.38.
0.38. Didn't we say 2.6 and 0.4? Didn't we? So we're very close. Okay, guys.